Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Smile. Today in the studio, we have Damo H. Damo is a retired photographer, father of two with two beautiful stepchildren as well, and three gorgeous puppy dogs. Damo and I are great mates. We met each other a few years ago now. I want to say about 4 years ago. And we just recently spent some time hanging out at your place in Paris with your beautiful partner, Sophie, which was absolutely incredible. And I have just been hanging to get you onto the show. You've got such an epic story and one that I know people are going to get a lot of value from. So, Damo, welcome to Behind the Smile. How are you today?
I'm really good, Ash, and thank you for having me on the show. I feel honoured.
Oh, thank you for agreeing to come on. I know it's not necessarily easy, but I think it's really important that we share these stories. You know, we were chatting about it just before, right? So, yeah, I'm excited. All right, well, let's kick things off today with some nice, easy questions. I'd love to know, where do you live? What does an average day look like? And what do you do for fun?
Well, I'm currently living in Melbourne, over in Malvern, a great suburb. Lots of meetings in that area for me. What does an average day look like? Lots of cuddles in the morning from my puppy dogs and my partner. It is a good start to my day. I do actually start my day off with my program. I start with gratitude, meditation and prayer without fail before I have coffee.
That's a real discipline, isn't it? Waiting to have the coffee.
It's just something I have to do, and I've done it every day since I left Rehab.
Wow.
Which has been nearly 6 years. And then the day unfolds into domestic duties, walking dogs. In my case, I do most of my work in the evenings. I'm a driver for a local rehab. I play golf. I do beach walking. I hate to say it, but I don't surf anymore, but that was a massive part of my life due to injury. And I'm at an awful lot of meetings.
You are at an awful lot of meetings, which is really cool. And it's something we'll circle back to a little later in the conversation today, just why you still attend so many, almost 6 years along your journey. What do you do for fun? You mentioned golf in there. I feel like that when I think of you, Damo, I think of golf.
Golf is a big part of my life, but because of back injury, I can only play once a week. Saying that, about 2 weeks ago, I played 4 days in a row. It took me another 4 days to recover. So practice is limited to, an hour or two a week and 1 round a week. That's my main fun at the moment. Other things I do for fun, so walking dogs and reading books and just being useful around the home. I've just spent 1.5 years renovating.
Wow.
To me, that's fun.
Yeah.
I get to learn new skills and put my time to really good use. That's been really, and I've not finished. When I go to Paris, there's more work to do.
Oh my goodness, that's right. You're going to reno the bathroom. Incredible. You're also very helpful within the community. You do a lot of service.
I do try. When I first came into this program, it was at the start of lockdown, so I had a service position every day at every meeting I went to. And that led on to clearer times where I was able to become secretaries of meetings. And I've done pretty much every other job you can imagine within that realm.
So we're talking about 12-step recovery here, aren't we?
Yeah.
What is the purpose of service within 12-step?
Service for me is keeping me out of my own head and making myself useful to any other alcoholic that comes into the room.
Was that something that came naturally to you? Like, have you always been someone who has thought of others and been caring and wanting to, and maybe even to the point of people pleasing, or was that a stretch for you in those early days?
That's a double edge for me because from a very young age I was a Boy Scout and I was always trying to make myself useful, even for simple things like first aid and doing those types of jobs growing up as a kid. And on the other side, when I was really deep in my alcoholism, I would just use people and do things and expect things in return. So there's this very black and white thing going on in my life. And even so, when I first got sober back in 2008, I became a lifeguard. And I put 13 years of my life into helping other people. A little bit of it sober and a little bit of it drunk, but it was always something I did. And I think, and I do believe a lot of that's to do with people pleasing.
Needing to be needed.
Needing to be needed, and that goes all the way back to what I would say is a fractured childhood, and that inner child not getting what he needed.
Can we talk a little bit more about that? Let's go there now, shall we? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in London. I was born in Ireland, first and foremost. I spent the first 2 years of my life in Ireland. What I would describe to you as a very young family. I moved to London as a 2-year-old with my 2 older siblings, my younger sibling, my mother. Now, my father wasn't around. He and my mother, they were very young when they got married. They were children. I think pregnancy came first.
Right. So it was a out of wedlock Catholic, because was it Irish Catholic?
Catholics. And I recently saw a photograph from their wedding, and I realised none of my father's siblings were there. He was the oldest out of 11 children.
Wow.
My mother had 2 siblings in this photograph, no grandparents to be seen. So very young, they were teenagers. They got pregnant, had baby, made 3 more babies, and separated. That was my childhood. That's how I see it, and I've had a long time to think about this now, and unfortunately for me, no parents to talk to about it. Father disappeared when I was 2 or 3, where he was in and out a little bit in those very young years, and then he moved back to Ireland. And we go through life. I had a stepfather, a beautiful man, very English, stiff upper lip sort of chap. And Mum unfortunately died when I was 20. She had a brain aneurysm. So we went from what I would describe as a relatively normal family life, given, we were in London, and, it was tough growing up in London.
And I imagine Mum trying to support 4 children. Yeah. Yes, your stepfather was in the picture, but I just can only think of the pressure, financially, emotionally, spiritually.
There was always pressure to survive. Mum didn't have a lot. My stepfather did what he could. He was a very talented man, but us growing up in the 70s and the 80s in London as immigrants, in a very, very interesting multicultural environment, lots of countries represented where we were, and a beautiful part of London too. One side was extremely wealthy and the other side of the street was extremely poor, and we mingled and we grew and we survived together. But looking back on it now, it was tough. I was a street kid in a lot of ways. I learned, my smarts on the street.
And were you close to any of your siblings? Like, did you look up to your...
Particularly close to my younger brother.
Oh, right. Okay.
We were best friends, still are. We live in very different countries, doing very different things now. My older brother and my older sister, we're in contact, obviously. We all live in different countries now. After Mum died, we all just went...
Wow.
And spread out all over the world. So we are in contact, but it's very distant and fragmented. Next year I intend on seeing them all on my travels. We did catch up 3 years ago when one of my half-brothers, so my father remarried and had 2 more children. He was married in Ireland, so we caught up. And that was the first time in my father's life that he had all of his 6 children in the same country.
Wow.
And my older brother's nearly 60, and the youngest one's about 29. That was quite a wild experience for all of us, I think.
What are your feelings towards your dad now?
I love the man, but I'm so desperately sad that I have spent 56 years craving his attention, and he was never there. And then when Mum passed away, we were very much orphaned off, and there's a lot of sadness around my mother's childhood as well, which I felt growing up. Her own father died when she was 4, and her mother in turn had 9 children in rural Ireland, way back in the 40s, 50s, 60s growing up, and it would have been really tough. I mean, you think of Angela's ashes, tough. So I always felt that, and as I've gotten older and I've delved a little bit deeper into that, I've been talking to it with a therapist more recently, trying to make heads or tail of the dynamics that have been passed down, that generational sadness, and possibly explaining why I lived the way I lived in those early days. I don't overthink it, because I also do believe I was born an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I didn't consciously pick up a drink at the age of 7, saying, well, I feel terrible, I think I need a drink.
7 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what happened.
Well, I can remember every single thing about that day. I can also remember every single thing about my very last drink.
My goodness.
There's 43 years in between. I can't tell you too much about because it was wild. But as a little boy at 7 years of age in Chelsea, in London, in my aunt and uncle's flat at the World's End Estate on the second floor in a red brick building, my crazy uncle Billy Fitz, an Irishman, decided to give me and my younger brother a can of Guinness to see what would happen.
Oh my goodness.
So, and they were only little tiny things back in those days, like half cans or third cans. And so I just remember opening it, drinking it, and going, "Oh, that was good," because it lit me up like a Christmas tree. This little kid who was a little bit different to his siblings, always did different things, suddenly felt, what was this? I've never felt this before. My younger brother didn't like the taste of it, so he gave it to me. So baby Damo
Brilliant.
is an alcoholic from the first drink. And he spends the rest of his life obsessing about that feeling.
Trying to recapture that moment.
I did not wait until I was 14 or 15.
You just kept going.
I just, where I could find it, I would sneak it. I don't consciously remember ever doing that, but even as a 10-year-old, I remember sitting in a pub in Ireland with my uncle Michael, who recently passed away, and he was being really sensible, not giving me any alcohol. But after he had a couple of pints, I convinced him to buy me, like a half a pint of Harper Lager, which was, big deal, me sitting up at the bar with him. We spent the whole day in the pub.
At 10?
At 10. And when we drove home back to the farmhouse, my grandmother was furious with him and me.
My goodness, is this the 80s?
Yes.
Just a totally different time.
This is late 70s, early 80s. This is how this started for me.
Wow.
And then that would have led on to, I remember being, 12, 13, sneaking into parties, getting drunk, spinning around in the streets, vomiting and thinking it was really funny. And then throughout all of those teenage years growing up in London, getting in and out of pubs and bottle shops. And I remembered something recently which I'd completely forgotten about. My best friend from primary school had moved out of London, and I used to go up there on the train and spend a week with him. And we'd have money, or we'd get money from his mother, and we'd go to the bottle shop and just buy alcohol and write ourselves off. We were kids.
That's
and this is what we did. And, and it just followed me everywhere.
Yeah. I really relate. From that very first drink, having that same feeling. And then, not necessarily. I remember as well, I would just watch people drink. Even if I, at that young age couldn't get my hands on it myself, I would obsessively watch my parents drink and how much they drank, and the curiosity, and it consumed me. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it's that disease that kicks off from the very first drink. Or, as you said, we're born with it. The isms present even before we have the first drink in many instances.
You see, in my household in London, Mum didn't drink at all. She was the mother that had one drink a year at Christmas time. Just happened to be a brandy and Coke, and that was it.
Wow.
One drink a year. Stepfather, he liked to drink. Now, he did develop quite a bad alcoholic problem after my mum died. Bearing in mind he was a young man, we were young kids, and he was quite devastated and spent the next 4 or 5 years in the pub.
Grief often does that, doesn't it? I know that was what ticked me over the edge.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just not being able to sit with the pain of losing someone and then just drinking it away until the addictive nature of the substance, of which it is, all of a sudden took a hold, and I'd lost that power of choice. Tell me more about growing up on the streets of London. Like, were there gangs? Was there, I'm just thinking of those old Guy Ritchie, not old, but those Guy Ritchie movies now. That's the visual that I've got in my head.
I knew a lot of gangsters.
Yeah.
I grew up around Notting Hill, so there was Portobello Market, Goulburn Market, and every street corner had a pub. Every pub had a group of regulars. Every pub had a group of gangsters. And then outside of those hardened people, there were street gangs. I wasn't part of any of that. I was just a little bit smarter than that. Otherwise, I would have simply have ended up either dead or in prison. I was always chasing my dreams, and I was kind of lucky. I always landed on my feet. But growing up, it was fast. It was furious. I did things differently. I think I've already mentioned that to my siblings. They would go and play football. I'd go and fishing. I'd go to the ice skating rink. They'd go to the rugby club. Most of my endeavours, though, in those 14, 15, 16 years of age were always revolved around me getting alcohol. Be it parties or at the ice rink. I was a regular at the pub when I was 16. I worked in a pub when I was 16. It was like, I'd really made it because I was allowed to drink underage in a pub. They paid me to be there, and we were allowed to smoke behind the bar too.
It's an alcoholic's dream. Tick, tick, tick.
Absolutely. And at the time, I had no idea the harm I was doing to myself. Nobody back in those days seemed to care. It was just accepted that's what young people did in that particular time and in that particular area. That's how we grew up.
It's such a different environment these days, and yet at the same time, I think that if alcohol has an effect on you the way it does for you and me, it's almost inevitable.
Oh, absolutely.
The train has left the station.
Yeah, and I certainly didn't know where the brakes were.
Yeah.
I got to the age of 21, so this is about a year after my mother passed away from an aneurysm, and I knew I was in trouble. I had enough foresight to understand what I was doing was damaging myself then. But I'd already had several years of everyday drinking as a 21-year-old. And I saw my first doctor and my first psychiatrist because I could not understand why I felt the way I felt. Obviously, I was in grief because my mother had passed away. And I didn't know how to handle that. I was a child. And there was no training given for that. You're supposed to go through life and get old and bury your parents, and life is supposed to be normal. But all of a sudden, things had really gone south for me and my siblings, but I handled it differently to them. My siblings, to this day, are still not alcoholic. They do like a drink, trust me.
That's the Irish in them.
but they haven't been through what I've been through. I got the gene. And so I'm seeing my first doctors, and the best advice I could get at the time, and so this is 1980, whatever it was, I can't even remember now. No, 1991. Yeah, 1991. You drink too much, so stop drinking so much and get on with your life. And that was the words I was given by a psychiatrist. I thought, that's not very helpful.
If I could do that, I might have done it by now.
So I had the recognition that there was a problem. I didn't know it was called alcoholism. I didn't find out that alcoholism was a disease until 2020. So there's a huge amount of time.
And a big chunk of sobriety.
In between as well.
Yeah.
So if you rewind the clock back to those early 20s, I carry on living like it's whatever. This insidious disease creeps up on me. It follows me around. I have a professional career. I'm a photographer.
You moved to Australia. When was that?
I did about 10 years in London, I think, chasing the royal family around and doing news jobs and sports jobs. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time. And growing up in Notting Hill, it was fun. It was fashionable. There was drugs and there was, it was everything you could. It's just everything you can imagine, and it was great until it wasn't great. I don't remember when it stopped being fun, but I got to the age of 27 when I really started to feel the effects in my career, in myself psychologically. It was getting worse, and by then the cocaine, the ecstasy, the acid, you name it, I was doing it. There were times I enjoyed it, but really I was just soul destroying. I was obviously getting more and more depressed while I was doing it. But then I met this, at the age of about 27, I met this girl from Melbourne, and she was in a good industry. She was an art director, and she'd been, had a couple of years in London, and she was pretty much doing what I was doing, partying. That's how we met. I was rolling a joint, snorting lines of coke. nothing to be proud of, but hey, that's the way it is. That's what was happening at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we get together, and she says, I want to move back to Melbourne. I had, interestingly enough, already had a travel visa for Australia. I had made my mind up I was leaving.
As we do.
Feeling a geographical
Yes.
fix me. But all of a sudden, I've met this girl, and I do exactly what my parents did and got her pregnant, and came to Melbourne, had a baby, got married. I was 10 years older than my parents, but here we go. I'd known this girl for 5 minutes, and she gives me the most beautiful baby daughter, Charlie. She is gorgeous. She's a chip off the old block too. We'll get into that. And so I begin my life again here. Funny enough, in St Kilda. So, 6 weeks after getting to Australia, I'm in St Kilda. I've got the pub. I know who the dealers are. I've got a house around the corner. I inadvertently get introduced to these guys at the Sunday Herald Sun. I knew some of them from London.
It's a pretty good gig to land when you get to Melbourne.
Oh, it's a great gig. So I actually got a contract with the Melbourne Times for a whole year to manage their news group photographic department. And then I moved on to the Sunday Herald Sun, which I think I stayed there for, all up about 10 years again. And I was surrounded by alcoholics.
I was going to say, having, my undergrad is in journalism, and I spent a short amount of time in one of the TV networks. I won't say which one. And it was prevalent. It's just known that journos drink.
It's what we do. And when there's down times, we drink. When there's good times, we drink.
Yeah.
And celebrations, we really drank. And like things like Spring Carnival, which has started at the moment. I just heard some adverts on the radio. That was a big gig for me and my colleagues. And I would go there to work, but come back completely spastic. The passes they gave us were all access, and we'd be in every single tent, and there'd be drinks, and Father Christmas would come out occasionally.
It's a little early for Santa, isn't it?
Wink, wink. And that was life.
Yeah, and isn't it funny how, as alcoholics, we find jobs to support our habit?
100%.
Like you've gone from the bar to another industry, but an industry that is still surrounded by booze.
Yeah, and that industry has now changed allegedly. I don't know because I don't work there anymore, but the whole industry has actually changed. There's a lot more younger people working there. It's a lot more professional compared to, say, 50 years.
Less scrappy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And today, the formats have changed. People are not buying newspapers anymore, and everything's online.
That's true.
It's a bit thin.
Yeah, it's changed, and therefore the culture within it has probably changed as well.
Completely.
So you're living in Melbourne now. You're in your late 20s. You've got one child, and then a second comes along.
Yes. Went through a bit of a tumultuous time back in 2003 where things were a bit rocky, largely due to my alcoholism. Being in a relationship where two people drink is quite chaotic. I can't say my ex was an alcoholic, but things went a bit south for a while. Then we came back and we made a beautiful baby boy. Indy, he's a lovely little fella, but another chip off the block too for me. And life is good. And then I get to about 2005, I have an incident at work where somebody's attacked myself and a journalist, and it wasn't life-threatening, but it felt life-threatening. He was throwing punches, and it got quite nasty, and I got really upset. I'm a full-on alcoholic by now. Like I'm coming up for nearly 40 years of age, so I've been going for 25 years, and the alcohol has affected my life, my marriage, my career, and I'm in this very fragile state. Doctors tell me I've got post-traumatic stress disorder. They sign me off work and say, go home, get rest, get therapy, get treated, and we'll figure this all out. What happens to an alcoholic when you send him home on sick leave is he drinks even more. And he takes even more pills that he's been prescribed.
I was going to say, what were the pills they gave you? Yeah.
Back then, Xanax, Valium. And so mixing those two things together was it's a downward spiral. It never works, and it always has real negative repercussions. So in that period of time, so this was 2006 to 2008, I'm pretty much at home. And I'm living in Torquay.
2 years.
I don't quite get back to work. I go back to work and something bad happens. They send me off to do something and I have a mental breakdown. They sent me off to photograph a guy who was going to he was a male prostitute. He
Mm-hmm.
was going to kill himself if we published the story. And I flipped out.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't do this kind of work anymore. I had seen over a very long period of time things that normal people don't see, and I won't repeat them here because they're quite upsetting and quite triggering for a lot of people. But there was a lot of death and mayhem, a lot of good things too, a lot of happy stories. But I'm in a fragile state by then, and I never quite get back to work. And they try and softly soft me and put me in a nice department doing video stuff, and it was great. And I should have, had the wits about me to make the most of it, but I just couldn't do it. I'm an alcoholic and I'm struggling and I don't know what to do, and I never get back to work. And then eventually I get myself into rehab, which work pay for, the insurance pays for. So this is about 2008, and I go off to, can I mention I go to Damo Rehab, which I subsequently nicknamed the Hotel Delmont. I liked it so much I kept going back.
They just kept your bed warm.
So I was a bit of a regular customer at Delmont for quite some time, and I would go spend, 4 or 5 weeks there, and I'd leave. I'd do a bit of the day program, go home and relapse. There wasn't a 12-step program. It's a lot of CBT and art therapy and a lot of group therapy, but it just wasn't working for me initially. And then a turning point came when I think I'd been messing around with a good friend of mine, doing a lot of cocaine and drinking lots. I woke up one morning and my wife had gone, my children had gone, the cat was gone, the dog was gone, and I remember lying in this house, which I owned, and being so sad and alone. I'd finally gotten to that point where I realised I had really stuffed it up. My life had suddenly come to its first rock bottom. I had choices. I was smart enough to go, well, I can do this or I can do this. So the smart choice was to ring up Hotel Delmont. I've really fucked up this time. Can you let me back in, please? And they, of course, say, please, absolutely, come down, come. You got your own room, you got a telephone, a TV, and you got good food, and you rested.
Sounds like a very different experience to my rehab.
Yes. This is why that type of rehab doesn't work for everyone. So I go there, I do the rehab, I leave, I do their day program for many, many months. I'm going backwards and forwards to Torquay, and I'm making the most of it. And then the psychiatrist pulls me in one day and says, I think you've done enough of this course now. I think you're good to go. Here's your certificate. You've graduated. Off you go into the world. Bearing in mind, I've got no outside help. I've got nothing. They've sent me off into the world, and by then, I think I had to sell the house because I ran out of money. My ex wanted her share, so I became homeless. Not homeless without money at that time. I had enough to live on, so I took off to America.
And you're sober at this time?
Oh, yes. So I went to see my brother in America, my younger brother. He in turn had been through, I probably can talk about this. I would go and see my brother frequently. So back in 1998 when my daughter was born. So shortly after my daughter was born, his wife died. She was a 28-year-old, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girl from Indiana. And she'd had a brain tumour which was operated on in London when they came over there before we all left. And she wasn't cured, but they'd saved her life, and then they'd moved back to America and set up a beautiful home in the countryside. Kevin was working in the family business, which is a big sporting goods company, and great positions, great money, and they were set to start a great life at the age of 28. Then one day she's cleaning the swimming pool, and he comes home, and she's had a seizure and fallen in and drowned to death. Now, my brother, who's 28 years old, comes home and finds this situation, and he's one of the, I feel that pain, and I have felt that pain for him ever since. And I would spend pretty much every year going to visit my brother just to make sure my brother was okay.
This is your baby brother.
This is my younger brother.
Yeah.
And my younger brother is way stronger than me and way smarter than me, and he pulls himself through. He carries on working. He doesn't turn to the bottle. Trust me, he can drink. He hasn't had a sober day in 35 years. Trust me, he can drink. But he pulls himself together, but a year later he gets cancer.
My goodness.
So we go there's these constant trips backwards and forwards, making sure my brother's okay. Again, he gets through the cancer, he gets through the death of his wife, and, he's already shocked from the death of his mother. And as a family, we feel this. And so I have, and that's why I'm going back again next year, because it's been a few years since I've been. I just want to be with my brother. But on the upside of all that tragedy, he meets a beautiful woman, quite a bit younger than him. And they're married now, and they have 3 beautiful children. The cancer didn't destroy everything, so life is good at the moment.
And did he stay in Indiana? Is that where you go?
No, they moved up to Minnesota, St. Paul, in the Twin Cities. So he's got Minneapolis, St. Paul. And he has he's had a great life there, and he went as far as he could do with the company, and the family's company sold and sold and sold, and it became a big multinational company. And he's now out of that. Now he's doing real estate. His wife is working for a big American company and doing extremely well.
That's amazing.
So the guy, he's only a year younger than me, but he's got 3 tiny children, ranging from 11 down to 3.5, I think, or 3.
Wow.
And I haven't met the young fella.
Oh, Uncle Damo, you got to get over there.
And they call me Uncle Damo. So that's next year's mission, to have that family time again.
So let's talk about your photo, because Damo, I've asked you to bring in a photo today from a time in your life when you were hiding behind a smile. Was that during this period of time? The photo that I'm going to bring up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
Could you describe for our audience what we're looking at here? Put that into the timeline for us.
So this picture was taken in 2016 when I had returned from America. I was doing these annual trips, leaving the job I had in Torquay as a surf club manager. It was getaway, because that job was full on in summertime. I was working 80, 90, 100 hours a week, and it was so draining. So I'd go and have my trip to America, see my brother, hang out. This time I'm sober. I'd already been, in 2016, I'd been sober by 7, 8 years.
But so, no support.
Zip.
White knuckling the whole thing.
White knuckling the whole thing. And we'll go into that a little bit, I think, because I think it's quite important for the listeners who are new. I'm there with my daughter. I haven't seen my daughter for several weeks, so I'm elated to see my daughter. I love my daughter to bits. She's the world to me. She's gorgeous. And I've still got my headphones on from the airplane, so I know I've just come from the airport. We're smiling, we're having a coffee, and I'm going back down to Torquay to face my job that I don't really want to do, but I don't know how to get out of. I'm also sober for a long time. I've got a handful of friends down in Torquay, and I'm talking 1, 2, or 3 that I can really confide in about my problems and my world. Couldn't have a relationship. Every time a girl came near me, I had my wicked way, and then I would run 1,000 miles. I'm so alcoholic. I didn't know how to have a relationship. I was scared. I was scared of abandonment again and again and again. That's my reoccurring theme in life. And I didn't know how to handle myself. I didn't know how to live life. I had zero confidence in myself. So I spent all my time working, surfing, playing golf, and looking after my children. And the job I intended on doing for 3 months as the manager of the Torquay Surf Club lasted 8 years.
Wow.
And in that 8 years, it went from being what was basically a caretaker to being the club manager. And I ran the bar. I ran all the functions, the weddings, the funerals.
And you're sober.
And I was sober this whole time. And an important question came up in that period of time in relation to around the time of that photograph, because I remember going back to the club. One of the guys came up to me. I won't mention his name. He was a school teacher, and he came up to me in the bar while I was working. There was only a handful of people there, and he came up to me and he said, he knew I'd been sober for a long time, and he said, how's it all going with sobriety? And I said, it's great. He said, but are you happy? This guy switched on, and I said, well, of course I'm happy. I'm sober. And he said, are you really happy? And he left it at that.
Wow.
And he just walked away and sat with his friends, and they were all drinking. They were drinking, and that night I went back into my apartment, and I thought, am I happy? Of course I'm not happy. And I had pause for thought for quite a long time then about my mental state and where I was and where I was going, and I still felt trapped, and I still didn't know how to get out of this mess that I was in, because I just didn't know how to deal with me. and how to deal with why I felt the way I felt. And I'm back to being a 21-year-old kid again. Now I'm in my 40s and I've got no idea.
It's so important to highlight this because there is a conception that you get sober and then all of a sudden your life is amazing. But my experience has been that if you are truly an alcoholic and you get sober but you don't replace alcohol with some sort of spiritual solution, then you are way worse than when you were drinking.
I was a complete lunatic. I was sad, I was angry, I was confused. I didn't know where my place in the world was. I hid away from people. The people that I needed to talk to, I said yes to everything. Yes. Hence the 80, 90-hour weeks, which I wasn't getting paid for, but I did it to keep everyone happy. And ultimately, I paid the price for it with injury. And that led to opiates and benzodiazepine addiction again.
And so is that the slippery slope that led you to that second rock bottom?
So the mechanism was a back injury.
Okay.
So I'm working at the club, working way too hard, way too long, working by myself, and I'm fixing outboard motors for rescue equipment for the boats. And I had to fix 5 in 1 week. They're all stuffed. And I knew how to fix them because the guy that trained me up taught me how to fix them. And I'm lifting these things by myself, putting them on stands, and yet the pull starts. And there's no electronic ignition. And I end up popping 6 discs in my back in 1 week, in one hit. And I'm struggling to walk. I'm in so much pain, like indescribable pain. Not 1, but 6. So I get carted off and put in bed. I get taken to the doctors the next day and they send me off for all the tests and x-rays and MRIs. And yeah, sure, it's all there. It's all the damage is there. And it's like, well, you've got a rest here, have some pills. And initially those pills worked. A couple of Endone and a couple of Valiums, you don't feel anything. Now, bearing in mind at this stage, I'm 9 years sober, or just over 9 years sober. And I spend the next 6 months abusing prescription medication, and it was never enough. It slowly but surely, 2 didn't become enough, 4 became manageable. Then I'd top it off with caffeine and really trying to get a buzz going. Initially, I didn't know I was doing that. And then eventually I understood what I was doing. And I realized one day when my stomach lining was raw and I was feeling sick all the time, how much damage I was doing to myself. So I throw all of this medication down the toilet, flush it all away and say, that's it, we're done. We're just going to manage this the old-fashioned way with a bit of physio and so on. So that night I'm sitting in the surf club. It's winter, so it's got to be around July. I'm sitting there all by myself and I'm shaking. I've got the DT something rotten and I'm sweating and I'm nauseous and I'm by myself and I'm starting to worry.
And this is coming off the prescription medication.
6 months of abuse. And I start to worry, and then the little devil inside my head goes, but you've been sober for 10 years. Why don't you have a drink? That'll stop the shaking. Now, this is real. This is going on. And, there's me saying, but you're an alcoholic. You can't do that. But 10 years, you'll be okay. So what did I do? I went through the ritual, and I can paint it out for you. I go upstairs, because I've got the keys to the bar. I'm the bar manager. I go up to the bar, and I get a nice bottle of Chardonnay.
Chardonnay, interesting.
Oyster bar.
Oh, lovely. Good drop.
So I bring it down into the apartment, a bit like this, and here's the table, and I put it on the table, and I put the wine glass there, and I stare at it. I'm sick, and I'm going, and I open the bottle up, and I pour a glass of wine, and I put the bottle in the fridge, and I sit there, and I sip on this delicious Chardonnay. I haven't had one for 10 years, and I go, and I stop shaking. 1 glass, I stop shaking, I feel okay, I go to bed. I'm okay.
And your brain's thinking, well, there you go. I'm not an alcoholic. Look at that.
Yeah, look at me. I just went to sleep after 1 wine.
Cured.
So I wake up in the morning at 7 o'clock or whatever it is. And what do you think my brain is doing?
When you wake up?
Yeah.
I don't know, thinking about drinking?
The obsession is back.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if it was the obsession or the craving got me. Are they 2 different things? I go to the fridge. I get the bottle of wine out. I open the bottle of wine out and I sit there and I have a bottle of Chardonnay for breakfast. Now, that's where it gets stupid because 10 years has gone by, and in a 12-hour period, I've started drinking, and I'm not going to stop. So I have got a craving. The phenomenon of craving is there, and it is devilish. And 1 isn't enough, 2 isn't enough, 3 isn't enough, and I'm back in the bar and I'm off. Now, I say it took about 48 hours for me to drink 24/7. It was more like 24 because I couldn't stop. I just wanted it. And then comes the madness with that. The hand tattoos came. That second photograph that I sent.
Yeah, maybe we'll flash that up now as well so you guys can see Damo's tats.
Yeah.
They're rather impressive.
I have relapsed, and I end up hooking up with a girl from another country.
As we do.
A little bit older than me. I didn't know she was an alcoholic.
It's almost like you attract them, don't you? It's like a vortex.
It's a thing.
Yeah, we like...
This person who does not know me flies in from New Zealand and finds me.
Yep.
Hasn't had a drink for 10 years. He'll do. And then we kind of get entangled emotionally, and the drinking gets out of hand. I quit the job before I drink the bar dry. I was actually very good. I kept replacing the stuff I stole.
Very considerate.
But I was...
All covering your tracks.
All covering my tracks, yeah. Well, yeah, more the latter. But I quit. 8 years, 3 months job turned into 8 years. I'm drinking, I quit. I hate these people. They hate me. I don't want to be there. They didn't want to support my injury. They thought it was all a big sham. I'm in a world of pain. I'm out of there. Geographical number 1 comes up. Thinking I'm going to be okay. And this is where it gets really disruptive. I go to New Zealand. I have a holiday. I go skiing with a back injury because I'm an alcoholic. I end up in New York.
Oh,
yeah, just randomly.
There you go.
In New York. I'm in Manhattan.
not Wellington. Getting to another side of the world. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
great.
up in New York, drinking at the top of this tower in Manhattan. I'm staying in a very plush apartment, and things get wilder and wilder. And then I end up, I think I ended up in Hawaii, and then I end up in Noumea for 3 months. So the girl I'm with, very smart girl, very intelligent, drank more than me, if not as much. Let's be fair. She's doing her doctorate. I'm following her around. I'm taking her to all of her appointments. We're having dinner with the ambassador from New Zealand. We're having drinks with the French ambassador. We're doing all these really high-profile political interviews. I'm kind of working. I'm kind of taking photographs. I'm being the chauffeur. I'm being the boyfriend. But behind closed doors, that psychotic alcoholic relationship was so dangerous and so bad for both of us. It just was horrendous.
It's just that enabling of each other, right?
It was horrendous. And, after 10 years of sobriety, and I'm back in, I'm a couple of months back in, and it is so much worse than what it was prior to that.
It's like that whole idea of how the disease does push-ups in sobriety. So it's in the background just waiting for you to pick up a drink, and it comes back even stronger. Is that what it was like?
This time it wanted to kill me. This time it was driving me to the jumping off place, and I ended up in numerous situations and the geographicals didn't stop. I was backwards, I was forwards, I was back to America, back in Australia, back to New Zealand, going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. I love you, I hate you, come back, come back, come back. And I did some very curious, weird things in some of those journeys coming back. I ended up in numerous hospitals after blackouts. One of the most embarrassing things happened to me at Melbourne Airport where, am I allowed to talk about drunkalogs?
Oh, yeah, this is a great story. Please share it. I know this one, and you've got to hear it.
So Damo arrives back from, I think it was New Zealand, and I go through duty free and I pick up one of those giant liters things of Irish whiskey, 1.5 litres or whatever it was. I thought that'll get me going. And I go and buy a black coffee, and I come and I sit in the arrivals lounge with my black coffee and my bottle of whiskey and my bags, and I'm going, I don't know what to do. I don't know where my car is. I don't know how to get anywhere.
No home to go to either, right?
No home to go to, nothing. And I thought, I'll sit here and I'll figure it out. So I pour half the coffee out and I fill it up with Irish whiskey. And I start drinking this. I'm on an empty stomach, obviously. I'm completely crazy. And I get found 2 days later, wrapped around a toilet inside the Melbourne airport. I haven't left the airport for 2 days. Nobody knows where I am.
My goodness.
Police are looking for me. Everyone's looking for The kids are distraught. My ex-wife said it was just a horrible thing to do to people. But I didn't know that at the time. I just sat there going, I don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. I'll have another one. Normally some bright idea will come to an alcoholic. Oh, you'll get on a train or get a taxi or something. No, not me. I get found by a doctor wrapped around a toilet. I'm covered in vomit. My suitcase is covered in vomit. I'm unconscious. The ambulance come and drag me off. I'm in the ambulance at the airport and I come to. My ex-wife and her policeman husband are in the ambulance staring down at me with those really evil eyes and pointy fingers, and I wake up and I crack a joke.
Of course you do.
And then I pass out again.
Oh.
And then I'm driven off to hospital. I wake up in ICU. There's tubes and everything coming out of me, and I don't know what's going on, and the story gets even worse.
Because that's not your last rock bottom, is it? You keep going.
This rock bottom, this waking up in this hospital gets worse because the nurse who's treating me was a kid I trained in nippers.
Oh, no.
Junior life-saving. And she's like, Damo, what are you doing here? You don't drink.
Oh, no. This is why I don't drink.
So, that one rock bottom should have really woken me up and got me to a place where I could recover, but it didn't. I got out of that hospital and I was pretty much back to my old behaviour straight away. I don't know if it happened straight away that day or the next day, but it did happen. And I kept doing those little geographicals, going back to this girl in New Zealand and then coming back as a complete mess. I ended up in hospital in that period of time another 2 times. I was found unconscious in my car outside my son's school.
Oh,
Great daddy by his stepfather, who was a policeman. They took me to hospital. I ran away from the hospital, got my daughter and stepson to drive me to the airport, and I ran away again. There was half a bottle of vodka in the back of that car, and I drank that on the way to the airport with some Valiums. I got on a plane and did it all again. And the final time I came back, I repeated exactly the same behaviour, and I'd come through, and I ended up down in Torquay again. A friend of mine, a couple, had put me up, and they'd been so beautiful, and they put up with my shit for quite a while. They put me up in their home, but I think the second day I got there, I opened up this litre of vodka and tried to finish it all off, if you know what I'm saying. And I woke up in the hospital again, and they sobered me up, and they kicked me out of the hospital. I ended up straight at the bottle shop and straight back down to Torquay. I think I've missed something crucial in between all of these little stories. Something brilliant had happened to me on the 26th of December 2009.
Tell me about that.
I was in New Zealand, and so it's Boxing Day, and I'd been a cook the day before entertaining these very nice people. And I woke up in the morning and the girl and her daughter were arguing quite loudly, quite very disturbingly arguing about something, and which was common for them. And something just clicked in me, and I said to myself, what are you doing here? You're with the wrong people. Wrong thing, wrong country, wrong time. I literally ran upstairs, packed all of my belongings into a case. I walked out of the house with them staring at me, thinking I was having one of my little tantrums. And I sat on the curb, it's out in the country, and I dialed an Uber, and they came out and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm leaving, going back home. He'll come back in a minute. And an Uber came, and I took a flight back to Melbourne. That's when I got the vodka. That's when I ended up in Torquay. And that's when I rang Malvern Private Hospital up.
Right.
So Malvern couldn't get me in for 5 weeks.
Wow.
Which was really good excuse for an alcoholic to have a party.
Of course. It's a send-off.
So my send-off was quite dramatic. So hospitals.
Was it the whole 5 weeks?
Ambulances. Oh, yeah. I didn't stop. I was sleeping in my car, sleeping on the beach. The routine was horrendous. I was drink driving. I had more drugs from the doctor. I was just going around in circles. How I didn't hurt anyone or kill anyone is beyond me, let alone myself. But I did finally make it to Malvern Private Hospital on the 27th of January 2020. It was about 3 or 4 weeks before you come in. And that was the start of what is to be a wonderful life. And I had my very last drink, my very last party, driving the car from Torquay to Malvern Private, sitting in that car park, finishing everything off. And okay, let's get in there and sober up. And I fell through the door, tripped over, and they picked me up and breathalyzed me and then promptly locked me away for 12 hours. So I didn't poison any of the other clients.
Wow.
Needless to say, I have a huge appreciation for Malvern Private Hospital now.
Yes.
Which led me into a 12-step program.
So tell me, what was different about this sobriety? What did you learn? You touched on it at the beginning that you understood, the disease was explained to you, but tell me more.
This is the very first time. I'm bearing in mind I'm 50 now.
And you've been battling alcoholism for decades.
43 years.
With psychiatrists, with doctors, yeah.
Constantly.
And no one's mentioned this.
If I saw half a dozen psychiatrists, nobody ever said, you've got a disease. And understanding that this was the doctor, the psychiatrist at the hospital, Dr. Young, telling me I had a disease, and then the counsellors telling me I have a disease, and the nurses telling me I have a disease. And, everyone saying the same thing to me and then explaining to me what the disease was and how a 12-step program could work. And in this particular model of 12-step was based on the Minnesota model, which was started in the 50s, which was having lived experienced people, trained people and professionals working together. So I was getting medical care, therapeutic care and love and care from people who were suffering from the same disease. And that makes all the difference in my recovery. I can't speak for everyone else, but the ones that do recover will talk about it. That was so important to me.
Did you fight it at all in those? I know I speak to a lot of people and they say, I just wanted to leave the whole time I was in rehab. What did you?
I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it too, actually, to be fair.
I knew I was in a safe place.
Yeah.
I also knew I was homeless, so I'm not stupid. I did fight the God concept. I found that very difficult because when I went in there, I was very much an atheist. And I think in a matter of weeks, I became an agnostic. And then by the time I left, I got it.
Wow, that's a pretty quick turnaround.
But what I got was going to meetings and watching other people getting better, smiling, speaking eventually in a language I could understand, understanding that the program I was in wasn't a religious cult, which a lot of people think it is. It was a spiritual organization with a simple set of steps. And if I followed them, my life would get better. There are a lot of promises in the big book. Each and every one of them came true the longer I did the work.
A lot of people struggle, I think, with actually following the steps. I was chatting to somebody just the other day about this, that it's a simple program for complicated people, and this particular person is a returning member. She's really throwing herself out at this time, and it's so beautiful to witness. And unsurprisingly, she's 30 days tomorrow, actually, and she's feeling so good. And we were chuckling because I said, it's funny how it works. Like, it works if you work it. And yet more often than not, I would say 8 out of 10 people that I come across will pick and choose the parts that they want to do. And then they get, they don't get the result and they wonder why. So I know I was willing from the beginning, and I think it's that gift of desperation where I think our recoveries are very similar in many ways, aside from the fact that we also almost on the same day, which I love too. But is that similar for you? Was it just like, I'm putting it like it's that true act of surrender. I'm putting my sword down. I'm teachable.
100%.
Yeah.
The first couple of weeks there was a lot of fog. There were a lot of rules to follow. A lot of new people that I got to admire really quickly, and it was scary. But the feeling in here was sober. I wanted to be sober again. I'm also at an age where I needed to be sober because the alternative was death. So when I was told to do this, I was told to read that, I was told to go to meetings, I was told to find a sponsor. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's true, right?
And it worked. And I had a 6-week sleepover there. By the end of it, I felt really good. And I was still very much at the beginning. I knew meetings were going to be available. I had inadvertently met my sponsor who was doing yoga teaching at that particular hospital. The day before I left, a counsellor came up to me. His name was Nick the Greek. He doesn't work there anymore, but a beautiful man. He came up to me and said to me, Damien, why are you so happy? He said, you're leaving tomorrow. You're homeless. You're unemployed. You're injured. You're broke. You don't know what you're doing. And I looked at him and I said, I'm sober. I'm bound to be happy. And then the conversation went on. I said, a man with no options suddenly has all the options in the world. And that was a quote from a film, Dom Hemingway. And he looked at me, he said, it's right. He said, you're free. You are free to do what you want. And most people in my situation would have been absolutely shit scared. Let's face it.
Well, even full of self-pity.
Oh no, I was happy.
Yeah, I've never seen that in you. You're so positive and always looking at how you can make any situation better.
That's me. That's what I try and do. I had a sponsor text me yesterday and he said, will I ever be as comfortable in my skin as you are? I said, I'm going to work on it for you. So I left that rehab with that mentality. There were two of us left that day. We're in the car park. And now I'm going, do I go to Torquay? Do I go to Portsea? Do I, go and crash on some couches? What do? I don't know what to do. And it was the answer was so simple. Get a coffee, proper coffee.
Yeah.
A latte, big treat after 6 weeks in hospital, and go to a meeting. And that's exactly what we did. And
that's pretty much what happened for the next 12 months, right?
I haven't stopped doing that.
Well, that's true.
For 6 years. Yeah. Almost every day. Now, have we still got time?
Of course, all the time in the world.
After that first particular meeting, there was some couches surfed, there was hotels, there was me sleeping in my car around St Kilda, Albert Park. I was as happy as a pig in shite. I would go and get a shower here. I would go and eat there. I would have coffee here. I was doing the day program at the Malvern Private Hospital, and I was just happy. And my first God thing happened to me. I don't know what's happening with my life, but I'm so remarkably happy. I'm doing all these things. I was sitting in a cafe down in Ackland Street, Big Mouth, at the end there with another member, and a mate of mine comes past on his bicycle. I haven't seen this guy in 15 years. We were really good mates. We used to hang out all the time, drinking and partying and dinners, and he comes by and he sits down and he actually had a beer while we were having coffee, and we haven't seen each other for 15 years. What have you been doing? So I gave him the full spiel. And by the end of my coffee, he handed me the keys to his house. He said, you're not homeless anymore. You're coming to live with me.
Oh, wow.
Now, that moment sealed the deal for me. This program really works. Because all of a sudden, it's COVID. I'm homeless. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm running out of money. This guy I haven't seen for a long time gives me a bed.
It's amazing.
And from that moment on, life got better and better and better. And that's when I got into service. We had so many meetings, everything went online. So not only did I get into service, I was doing 7 or 8 meetings a day. There was nothing else to do for me.
Yes, and when it was all on Zoom in COVID.
So I did thousands of meetings in that 2-year period. And then something, several months into it, something romantic happened.
Yes, we have to talk about your beautiful partner. She's just the best.
Well, my beautiful partner and I were doing service at a meeting, and I'd never met this woman in person. And in fact, I was told by my therapist not to meet any women in early recovery.
It is advised to not date in the rooms, and particularly not in your first 12 months. So you've gone, you're going to ignore both of those?
I'm going to ignore both of those because I've been sober before and I was single for 10 years.
Yeah, look, sometimes you got to follow it.
And look, it was very sweet, and I'd fallen asleep doing service at the meeting.
Because it was your 10th for the day.
Pretty much. And I wake up and I can hear all these voices saying, Damo, are you alive? Are you okay? And I'm like that. And there's 4 little screens left, and it's so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. And then there was myself and Sophie, and we were chatting, and no thoughts. I said, I've got to go. I've got to organise something for my son's birthday. And she said, oh, when's your son's birthday? I said, it's Friday. She said, no way. That's my son's birthday too.
Amazing.
It was just like instant click, something we've talked about, and then the following week I get asked, how was your son's birthday? I said, how was your son's birthday? And one thing led to another, and we go for a coffee because we're allowed to go for walks.
Classic COVID coffee catch-up.
We went for the COVID coffee class catch-up, and we walked down St Kilda Brighton Beach and back.
Where Damo and I had our first date.
Exactly the same path. And then, a lunch was organised, and then we fell in love.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. It was, wow, I did not know love and sober relationships were possible. I'd never had one.
They're just the best, aren't they?
Oh, I'm a 50-year-old guy. I've got the most beautiful partner. She understands me.
Yeah, she speaks your language.
She speaks my language, and, our kids got on. She allowed her dogs to adopt me. And then we got a third one during COVID. So we've got this beautiful, beautiful family. Now the kids are all grown up and they're all off doing different things around the world. And today we just have the most serene life. And there are challenges.
Of course. But you seemingly know how to handle them.
There's been a few incidences. One I think I may have mentioned to you before, where my youngest son, who's 20 now, had access to some deoxyamphetamines that weren't prescribed to him, and he was trying to get through a project. So that was his story, and he took 5 of them, and his heart went into overtime, and he ended up in hospital. So even with all the knowledge of drugs and alcohol that he's received from his father, at least, he still will dabble around with other things. And he's an adult now. I do not control anything. I have no control over people, places and things.
Yeah.
Young people growing up are going to experiment. I dare say my daughter, who lives over in Europe, has had a good 10 years of a good life, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we do, particularly with our lineage or heritage,
I'm surprised they haven't slowed down.
It takes what it takes, doesn't it?
Yep.
And I think it's like, I remember chatting to Dad about this as well, because he was, witness to my crashing and bashing for a good decade there, even though I did the geographical to Sydney. So a lot of it, he, wasn't right in front of my family, but they knew. But there's nothing you can do. Of course, love, support, open arms, open communication, but it happens when it happens, if it happens.
Yeah, if it happens, and the door's always going to be open. I did make a joke recently with my daughter. When she comes back, I'll probably be driving her around in the druggy buggy. If she's not careful.
We'll check her in. Warm up a bed.
She's got it under control.
No, that's great. That's
great.
But,
this life in sobriety, this world that I live in now, it is the most beautiful, the most rewarding, the most spiritual, certainly the most happiest I've ever been in my life. And the fact that I get to help other people.
Yeah.
And finally, after almost 6 years, I'm really comfortable and confident sponsoring new men. This year alone, I was there for one of our very good friends who went through a liver transplant. And it was the most rewarding bit of service I could do to another human being. I was talking about it this morning, saying how wonderful it is to see somebody come back to life.
It's a miracle.
An absolute miracle. And to have been a small part of it, just being a witness to it.
You've been a little bit more, you've been very humble right now. You've been more than a small part of it. It's beautiful. It's really special. On that note of service, I want to come back to meetings because, as you said, you still go to a meeting almost every day. You're going to be 6 years sober, God willing, at the end of January. Most people would be thinking, why the hell are you still going to a meeting every day at 6 years of sobriety? Is it not working?
I know, it's getting better and better.
Yeah. So tell me why. What's the reason behind that?
My current feeling in life is something really good is going to happen because I keep doing this work. I go to meetings because I always get something out. I have regular meetings, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday night. I have regular work meetings. There are boundaries there. Work is work. But I still get something out of every single meeting I go to. And I take a lot of pleasure in being able to support the newcomers at work. Got to be careful with that those areas where it crosses over, because compassion fatigue is real.
Absolutely.
I can't take too much on. I certainly don't sponsor people from rehab, any rehab for that matter, unless they've got some decent time up. And it's become such a huge part of my life. I don't have to think about it. I just do it. And with my partner being away recently, I up the ante and we do even more meetings.
I think I saw you on a Saturday night and it was your second or third for the day.
And look, at the end of the day, there's a social aspect to it too.
Yeah, that is true, isn't it?
I get to see people like you and Damo. I get to see my friends. I get to see my sponsor. And I've met a lot of friends in this organisation.
And thank goodness for people like you, Damo, because if we stopped going after we, got well, or if we stopped going after we felt the urge to drink leave us, then where would the new person go? There would be nowhere for them to go. So it's that even just showing up and putting your bum on a seat is an act of service.
Absolutely. Just being there. I mean, we're going to mention AA now. It's going to be one of the most incredible organisations in the last 90 years. Certainly the most incredible organisation for struggling alcoholics, and how it has remained non-professional and how it has remained there for one alcoholic to help another alcoholic. Worldwide, the literature's the same, the goals are the same. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, and it saves lives.
It really does. Yeah.
Nothing else worked for me. AA did. And it introduced me to a set of principles. It introduced me to God and introduced me to a way of life I didn't think was achievable. And the best thing is I get to pass it on to another guy.
It's so beautiful. Damo, I love this conversation so much. I do want to know, though, there's a final question that I have for you, and it's one that I ask all of my guests who join me here on the show. What would be your 3 non-negotiables that allow you to live your life today happy, authentic and free?
Having a program. Life without a program would lead me straight back to square one, and I would pick up a drink. That's a fact. I have a disease. I have a head that wants to kill me. I now know that, and I've seen people die. I've seen people who walk away and they die. So I have to have a program because I do not want to die. Not this way. I'd rather old age did it. Thank you very much. For me, keep it simple. KISS principle. If I can live every day simply, not overcomplicate things, not overthink things, take things as they are and deal with them, my life is so much better. If I can't try and control anything, it just turns to shit.
Okay, so your program is number 1, and not necessarily in order, but we're saying number 1, program. Number 2, simplicity, and I feel like there's a bit of handing over control in that as well.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, non-negotiable. Happy, joyous, free. Happy, authentic, free.
Happy and Rule 62.
Rule 62, yes, exactly.
Don't take yourself too goddamn seriously. At the end of the day, it all comes to an end. Try and have a bit of fun in between and enjoy life.
I love that.
Smell the flowers, look at the sky.
Enjoy present.
Enjoy what is beautiful.
Damo, that's a beautiful place to end the conversation today. We say here on Behind the Smile that when we recover loudly, no one needs suffer in silence. So thank you so, so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me on.